Hello, welcome to the chat room on CGT, and I'm Zoyun. The chat room is a special online live streaming which invites people from different backgrounds and sectors from all across the world to share their insights and experiences in the new COVID-19 normal. And apart from panel discussions, we also take questions from a variety of different social media platforms, including CGT app, the official website, CGT official account on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Sina Weibo. So feel free to leave your comments and questions on those platforms. Well, today we're going to talk about education with schools and universities gradually reopening here in China. And now we have students back to school with an increasing number of them, of course. And so now the challenge is how to help the students, pursue their studies, plan for the future while maintaining vigilance for the COVID-19 pandemic. So today we are honored to be joined by a professor and also students from one of the best universities in China, which is Tsinghua University. So first of all, I'd like to welcome this very beautiful lady joining us in the program. So it's Professor Zhu Guiping, who's the Associate Dean from the Department of Electrical Engineering at Tsinghua University. So thank you so much for coming, Professor Zhu. Well, it's always great, during the pandemic to have a guest joining me.
Yes.
And besides Professor Zhu joining me live here in the studio, we also have some very smart students joining me from Zoom. So now let's introduce them. How about we have you introducing yourselves to us, because they are among the most smart, the smartest, and also the most talented people, not only here in China, I guess, maybe around the world. So yeah, let's see, who are they? So yeah, Dong, let's start with you. You need to unmute yourself. Yeah, Dong, I'm sorry. We'll just mute you.
Okay, sorry.
Yes, please.
Hello, Joe. Hello, everyone. My name is Li Yadong, and I'm a graduate student from Schwarzman College at Tsinghua University. And I just quitted my job a month ago, and currently I just live inside the campus.
Okay, great. So it's really great to have those students, going back to those, we call it the good old days when they got back to university again after, they have pursued their career. And now let's go to Natalie. You look really great in that red shirt. So yeah, tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Thanks so much. So Yoon, I wore it especially for tonight. I know how much red means in Chinese culture. Hi, everyone. I'm Natalie Mai from Australia, and I'm a year into a global business journalism master's program at Tsinghua University. I'm currently back in Perth, Australia, just during the pandemic. But when I'm in Beijing, whenever I'm not in class, I'm working at the Global Communication Office at Tsinghua.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you and welcome. Jiawen, please.
Hi, my name is Jiang Jiawen, a sophomore majoring in English language and literature. During the time of the pandemic, I was staying at home and at the same time served as a volunteer for online teaching. Now I have already come back to Tsinghua University.
That's nice. Yeah. So let's now go to Maho.
Hello everyone, my name is Muhammadu Ali Ide Madugu, but you can call me Moho. I'm from Niger, a country in West Africa. I've been in China for 3 years now, and I'm a junior at Tsinghua University majoring in international relations. It's a pleasure to be with you all.
Okay, thank you for coming. Let's go to Cassie.
So hello from Singapore. My name is
Hello.
Cassandra, and I am a second-year graduate student at the School of Public Policy and Management. I am currently studying for my dual master's program in public policy for the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and I will be spending the next 2 semesters in the University of Geneva in Switzerland. So I am also a student assistant at the Tsinghua Global Communication Office, and I look forward to this discussion with all of you.
So you and Natalie, you were co-workers for this special program international office.
Yes, we
Is
are.
that right?
Yep.
Okay, great. So last but not least, let's go to Catherine, right?
Yes. Hi. Thank you for having me here. My name is Catherine. I am French and currently studying my master's degree at the School of Journalism and Communication at Tsinghua University. And luckily, I'm one of the few international students to be on the Beijing campus.
Okay. So some of you are now at the campus, just like many of the students are now gradually going back to Tsinghua. So how is the situation? They all look happy now. whether they're at home or they're already on campus. So is that what their students mostly about at campus? Do they miss coming back when they're just crying so hard? It's like, oh, I don't want to go back to school.
I think maybe most Chinese students would not ask them to come back to the campus. They are also eager to return back to the campus. So most Chinese students now are in the campus who are very happy to be together again.
Yeah, we can just see that smiling face from Yadong, like he can't wait, right? But how about them like staying at university? Because now we are still very, the alert is still very high in China and also in many other countries, because of this ongoing pandemic globally. So I guess there might be some measures in schools and also, in other places about, still protecting the students from the pandemic.
Exactly.
So do they have to stay on campus all the time or, they can apply to go off campus? So what is the situation like now?
I think most students were required to stay in a campus. But if it is necessary, they want to go out to the campus, they need to ask the permission to the campus at least one day before.
Okay.
Yeah, so such as they want to go shopping.
That's not a very good excuse. Okay, come on.
Maybe go to see the family. Yeah, parents, go see
boyfriends,
the family.
girlfriends.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay.
So, but we all of the student teachers and professors encourage them to stay in the campus because in Tsinghua campus, I think most of their requirements can be made.
Right, and it's safer, and it's also easier for the school to to manage, and also it's better for themselves, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah.
So don't you have been staying on campus, or you have been applying through the system that just mentioned by the professor to go out a little bit?
Yeah. So actually, most of the time I just stay inside the campus, but sometimes, especially at the weekend, I need to report to the school administrative about my purpose, what type of things I'm going to do outside. Then I can just go outside. I think it's very easy compared with before.
Right. And also because you need to apply so that the school will have an idea about where you're going so that they can keep track of your location or your, latest updates, which is also a very, very safe and also, high standard for management. And let's go to Moho, because I'm really curious because during the pandemic, especially at the start of the pandemic, when the world is not very familiar about the virus, about the pandemic, so many international students, their first reaction was like, oh, I have to go back home, right? Because, I feel like going. But you, on the opposite, you choose to stay in China. Why is that?
Well, initially before the pandemic, I went to Shenyang to spend the winter holidays. And a few days later, I was over there and then the coronavirus outbreak was declared. So at the time, it was just an epidemic. And so I had hopes of the virus being contained as soon as possible. However, as we all know, the virus became a pandemic in March, affecting a lot of countries and making traveling a lot more complicated. And at the same time, the situation was becoming better in China, so I just made the choice of staying in China rather than going back home. And also, I figured being in China while doing e-learning at the time, because we had already started online classes, would be a lot more suitable due to the fact that it would eliminate the hassle of time difference, making learning more conducive to me. And it would also help with maintaining and improving my Chinese ability due to the environment I was in at the time.
Oh, that's really nice to hear. Well, let's ask other students because we know, Professor Zhu, during the pandemic, the students have to take online courses because of the, the limitations. So how about you guys? Do you like taking classes online or you hate it? Okay, let's raise our hands. Who like it? I hate it. I don't like it. Oh, nobody likes it? Or who thinks, oh, we're really enjoying the online session? Okay, hands up. Nobody likes it? Okay. Okay.
I'm going to be the odd one out.
Okay. So you like, why do you like it, Natalie?
Well, I do prefer in-person classes, but I think that Tsinghua, at least, or the journalism department, in my personal experience, has managed it really well. I'm lucky I'm in the same time zone as China because Perth is. So very few of my classmates would fit into the same category. But because we're trying to accommodate people in different time zones, it meant that my classes were always at very convenient times. They were either in the evening or in the morning or sometimes in the afternoon. So I could be engaging in local society here and still able to attend my classes. So there are a couple of perks.
Okay, great. Let's say, so Catherine, you don't like it? You prefer to see your professor face to face? It might be because Professor Zhu is so beautiful and so nice that you want to see them in person, right?
I do believe it has its pros and cons, but I personally prefer face-to-face. E-learning requires a lot of self-discipline in order to be efficient. You definitely, you're less focused when you're online than when you're in the classroom. But on the good side is you have more time for yourself since you don't have to go outside to go to the classroom. And on the cost side for the university, that would also be better. And it can attract more students as well. So yeah, this definitely has its pros and cons. But personally, I still prefer to meet the professor face to face.
Right. They're all so smart. You know, when I know today it will be students joining us from Tsinghua, it made me so nervous because they are among the most talented and also brilliant students. I'm so afraid of them. You know, when I ask them a question, I'll say, oh, this is not a smart question. I deny it. But they're so nice and smart at the same time. I'm so lucky, Professor. But yeah, as we talk about online courses, so just as Catherine, they are being very balanced. Oh, there are pros and cons. Yeah. So what about you, Professor, from the perspective of the teacher? You have to make online teaching as well. You can see those lovely students. You can't see their faces. Yeah. Is that a challenge to you, or you have been gradually adapting to this new normal?
Yeah, exactly. I think because in the spring semester, the online teaching is what a must. We have no choice, no matter you like or hate. Yeah. So, in fact, Tsinghua has many efforts to support the e-learning, both for the teachers and the students from various ways. For example, we the official buying the video conferencing system and release to all the students and the teachers, and also give the financial help to all the students and the professors to cover their data charge. So
it's free for you, professors, and also for the students who need to learn.
And this policy will keep in the autumn semester. So I think in the spring festival, in the spring semester, we have no choice. The e-learning is necessary. But I think maybe in this autumn semester, we have various choices, and also and maybe most Chinese students now they have returned to the campus, but the international students, we need to take consideration about what they need. So I think I need to tell them a good news that all the classroom has been upgraded. So you can be involved in the courses no matter where you are around the world, and you can see all the classmates, and you can see the professors in the real classroom, and you can be asked to open your voice and to answer questions, and they can be heard and can be seen by the classmates in the real classroom. Wow. That's what we call the hybrid learning.
Yeah. Wow, that's really interesting. And I think, it's a good news because they all look happy, right? Kathy, is that a good news to you?
Looking forward to it. It sounds great.
That's great because it's going to be like this, right? It's going to be like live streaming. The professors will give lecture in a classroom, and for those international students who can't, make their flight here or who can't show up, they can just join online. But they can also there will be this interaction part.
Yes,
right?
yes. They can be interacted with the students in the real classroom. Also, this is greatly improved the complexity of our teaching for the professors. But we want to involve everyone. No one should be left.
No one should be left behind.
Yeah.
But for those who don't want to learn, it might be a bad news. They're like, oh, there's no excuses to just sleep there, lie there, and play with my phone. Yeah, but they're from Tsinghua, so they're eager to learn more and to participate more. Well, let's see, because I know as you said, Professor, it's a must, whether you like it or hate it. But during the peak of the pandemic, it's the only choice that we face. And especially when we start, I guess, there are challenges, especially on the technical side, right? Some of the students, they complain online that they can't they can't hear the voice of the professor, or sometimes it's really hard. So was that a challenge for you? I mean, from the technical perspective?
I think maybe for the younger professors, it is not a problem.
Oh, you're young. Come on, you look 21 to me.
Yeah. But for some older professors, it's really a big problem. So the Tsinghua has make the lessons to the professors to train them to use the advanced technology to give the courses online.
And speaking of the support and help that you just mentioned, actually we have right here a volunteer, right? Jiawen, you're one of the volunteers who help students with those online learning. And whenever they have a question, I heard that you can actually help them to solve it. I thought you're from electric engineering or something, or more science major, but you just said you're from English language and literature. How come that you're an English major student, but who can solve those technical issues? Tell us more.
Yeah, because I have been trained before the opening up of the spring term. Our school issued a notice to recruit volunteers for online teaching. So I signed up for it, and we started training before the beginning of the school. And we trained to use Ring class, that a mini program for online teaching invented by Tsinghua teachers. And we have a book to tell us how to use those technology.
Okay. So what kind of questions were being touched upon the most? What kind of challenges?
What we should do if the sound or radio system don't work, and if the writing board can't show on the student screen. So we need to find the solutions. And if we can't solve those problems, we can call the professional workers who are always stay online, and they will help us.
It's really amazing, I think, because this is something new, especially at the very early stage of the pandemic. Is that the virus is unknown, and how to make this learning process going is unknown. So but it's really fortunate to have students like Jiawen, to have the support of the university, and maybe even on a more macro level. It's like help from different levels to make the system work. I think that's really a blessing. Well, let's go back to Yadong, because he has been quiet for a while, and now I see the smile gradually vanish from his face. So Yadong, how do you feel about going back to school? And one thing that really surprised me is, Professor Zhu, now it's really hard to find a job because the economy worldwide is not, is not so robust. So people with a job usually try very best to keep their job. But you, on the other hand, you quit your job and you move back to China from Africa. Why do you make such a bold move? I'm just so curious.
I think before I go to my first job 2 years ago, I only had my bachelor degree at that time. So after 2 years working, I think I need to change my career development methods from media to public sector. So that
you were in media sector for your first job.
Actually, I worked for a media company in Africa. It is I are doing television stations, also radio stations.
Oh, that's good to know. Just like people like me, and then they find, it's not interesting, and the pay is so low, so they would just quit. No, I'm kidding. So yes, please continue.
Yeah. So because of the change, I think maybe come back to school may help me change my career path from that area to another area.
Okay. So you actually, this thought weren't just, prompt you during the pandemic. It's actually something that you've been carefully planning like 2 years ago, right?
Yeah. Actually, I had a plan for a long time. So it's not just about because of the COVID-19 pandemic, but maybe some of the reason from that, but mostly it's from my thinking, my thoughts about my career path in the future.
Okay, and this pandemic doesn't change your plan, because some people may just delay or postpone their enrollment for school, but you're still very persistent, right, for going back to school.
Yeah, I think
it's time.
Yeah. When I come back to China, it's around. Actually, I work in an African country called Ghana. So when I come back to China, it's around Spring Festival, and during that time, the pandemic is not that much. Only maybe I think, numbers 10 or 20 cases in Wuhan at that time. I don't think this pandemic changed my mind.
Right. Well, let's go to another one who will also be a freshman for a master degree is Catherine, right? So, Catherine, do you look forward to your master program? Or you think, oh my goodness, it's just another 2 years or 1 year of studying. I should have worked, not just continue my study. How do you feel right now?
I'm actually very excited because already since my junior year, I've decided to pursue a master's degree right after my bachelor. And I actually had a work opportunity at the end of my bachelor right before the pandemic. But still, I think for my side, I would prefer to stay in the university first and after work.
And what is your plan like? This program is 1 year or 2 years, though, which you'll be joining.
So I'm currently joining the Global Business Journalism program, which is a 2-year master's, and it will be in journalism and communication. So right now with the pandemic, what I see is that there are a lot more citizen journalists. So for those who are not familiar with the term, those are ordinary people. Those are not journalists,
right,
who would go onto the news event site and report what they actually see. So they would stream online or write an article on their blogs. And I see that people are much more, they care a lot more about what is currently happening around the world. And I personally would like to increase increase the news post coverage around the world in a professional manner. So that would be my actual goal with this program.
That's good to know, because now with the help of digital media platforms, you know, it seems like every individual can be a reporter or journalist. And sometimes if they're on field and there's a breaking news, they're even faster than professionals like us, right? So Catherine, so your goal is not to become a reporter or journalist like me or my colleagues, right? What you want to do is enable people, whether they're professionals or not, help them to make their voice heard, make the reports, you know, they wrote being seen more. Is that the right interpretation?
As well, yes. I think that currently we are very lucky to have social media and video platforms where we can really express ourselves. And if people could do it in a more professional manner or understand how things should be reported, that would be much better for things we see online right now.
Okay, actually, this is a very new idea to me, because I always hear, you know, students from journalism or communication major, they say, oh, I want to become an anchor, I want to become a journalist, or they want to be a press officer in an international organization or, you know, for a multinational company. This is actually the very first time for me to hear international students say something about helping people, especially from journalism major, to, you know, to make their voice heard. So this kind of idea, Catherine, is it something that you generated, you know, freshly from the pandemic, or is something that you had been in your mind for a long time?
It's definitely since the pandemic. So I've seen a lot more articles reporting about citizen journalists during the pandemic. And even though people have a quite pessimistic view on the pandemic, I see it as an opportunity. So it definitely creates more chances to people to express themselves.
Right. Yeah, I think Catherine's not the only one who have generated some new thoughts during the pandemic, especially for young students like them, when they're still, you know, so many opportunities and possibilities in at the early stage of their life. What about the students that you have talked to, Professor Zhu? Is there any students who told you recently or during the pandemic that my plan was this, but now because of the pandemic, I may change my plan, I may change my career path? Have you ever had students like this who talk to you?
I think this is not the only case just for the Catherine. I'm very glad to hear what Catherine said. Because in Chinese, we all say the dangers are accompanied with the opportunity.
Exactly. Yeah. As we say in Chinese, they all understand. It's 危机, right?
Yeah. So I think as it was reported, the employment pressure was so hard in the first half of this year.
Yeah.
So, but fortunately, the employment rate from my university keeps a high level.
Of course, it's the leading university here in China.
Maybe it greatly depends on the prestige of Tsinghua University and also the talent, the quality of the talent cultivation. Yes. But I think on the other hand, that of course the staffs in charge of the employment devotes more in this year. They help the students to keep close connection with enterprises and also give them some advices to adjust their expect for their first job. So I think the students should be found maybe the new opportunity or be more realistic about their expect for their first job, and maybe they need to prepare to start from scratch.
Right.
Yeah.
So be more realistic and please don't mind to start from scratch. Okay, this is not a good news to students. Let's see their faces. If they're still smiling, not really. Yeah, they're like, oh, okay. But I think this is very true for young students. And I think the pandemic just reminds us that, the importance of how you should be down to earth, you should be low profile, and, So, and also during the pandemic, I have to say, we have to admit, it was a hard time for students of all levels, especially college students.
Yes.
And for some, because it might impact their career paths, for some, it might impact their research. And I heard actually Cassie, right? Cassie. So the pandemic has made some negative influence to your research. So tell us a little bit more. So, when there's this negative impact on the research on the program that you were conducting, what is the way out where there's nothing that you can do? How's the situation? Yeah, how's it like? Tell us a little bit more.
Right, so probably I can share a bit more about my research. It's actually related to women's rights, gender inequality, and public health. So a large part of doing research in this field relates to qualitative research. So I have to enter into an environment where I can understand and also capture the daily experiences of different groups of people. So through direct observation or either through qualitative interviews. So it's very important for me to be able to enter into an environment that has not been altered or modified too much, to observe certain characteristics and certain social interactions that will be beneficial for my research. So, but the fact is, while before the pandemic, I was still able to do so, and I was able to set up a lot of interviews with NGOs and also government agencies. It has become very difficult or even impossible to do so now. But I feel like for me, it highlights the importance of utilizing different communication platforms and also trying to work things out, be more flexible. And at the same time, it generates this sense of empathy, especially with the group of people I'm working with, about how some communities need more help in this time than others. So I feel like eventually it will work out, but I'm still trying to find out ways whereby I can continue my research.
But what has made you so confident or so persistent? Because now you still decide to stick to your first choice, right? About the research that you were you were implementing.
Yes, my research has been ongoing for a while, but the more important part is that for the next 2 semesters, I am supposed to actually go to the University of Geneva in Switzerland.
Yeah.
So I have to say there has been a change in how I thought about things, how things would go as well. So even during the most severe period, I have to say I didn't feel like the pandemic would be detrimental to my studies because my experience with online learning at Tsinghua for the last semester was so great. So it was one of the most positive experiences I've ever had, and for me, it inspired a lot of networking and also connecting with people through online communication platforms. So, but however, as time goes on, I feel like there has been more mental mental straining and physical worries for myself. And also things like, what if I have to quarantine myself after arriving in Switzerland, because the semester has just started and we are still expected to be there in person. But some of my colleagues in China, for our program, we have about 12 people from China who are still unable to travel overseas. So we have been working that out with a hybrid model. I think it is very collaborative, and we are actually working things out. So I'm very positive about that as well.
Wow, that's good to know. And maybe you didn't notice when you were talking, so Professor Zhu just kept nodding and smiling. So Professor Zhu, why? Because first of all, you think this is really good. And second, I think maybe this is not the only case that you have experienced for international students, right?
Yeah.
So I guess during the pandemic, there must be some challenges, raised by the international students to the university, and also to some degree they need some help, right? So just tell us more, what kind of challenges that they have suffered, encountered, and what kind of help and support have been provided by the university?
Yeah, as far as I know, I think maybe the problem accounted by the students from the measure of such as the science and the liberal arts, and I think it can be resolved by the digital technology, no matter just by the video conferencing system, or we can talk through the Zoom, such as like today.
WeChat.
WeChat and anything else. But I think maybe the most biggest problem is the students encountered is in the in engineering. Because in our engineering, the students need to do the experiment which relied on the large equipment which will be installed in our lab. So for these students, especially for the postgraduates, their research will be obviously or severely hindered by the pandemic. So the school or the professors will provide the help, such as maybe we networked the equipment so the students can control and sensing and metering the system. But not all the equipment can be upgraded, especially in such a short time. So
it's very stressful.
So in fact, some of our research has been postponed to this autumn semester, and some of them need to post to the next year to be graduated from this university.
Okay, that's good to know. Do you have any students do you have any questions for the students? Those are not your students, right?
Because
I don't see any of them being so nervous. If one of them is your students, you will tell, because they'll be so nervous.
They need not to be nervous. Especially maybe the students like my students, they will not be nervous. I will not keep them nervous. I think
oh, you never know that. But do you have any questions for the students? Because these are possibly the first time that you see them. Is there anything that you want to know about the students who are now studying? Some of the questions that you're afraid of asking them in person when you see them, but now you can ask them anything. Some of the challenging questions maybe.
I really want to know, do you so eager to return to the campus?
Oh, I can't. They'll say, we can't wait, but I don't know whether they really think that.
Because I think most professors are so eager to see their students face to face.
Let's ask them. Natalie.
Yes, absolutely. I've been checking the news every day for months now, speaking with my peers around the world. We're all dying to come back. And especially when I new videos released from the new semester at Tsinghua, I saw one that was featuring Catherine, and it just made me feel homesick. I felt so jealous.
Oh, it made her feel homesick. That's so sweet to hear. What about you, Maho?
Well, actually, I'm currently back on campus, but then prior to coming back, I was also eager to come back to campus because you just kind of miss this environment after such a long time. You want to be here, be able to experience the Tsinghua, experience everything on campus, be able to move around and just hang out and breathe some fresh air compared to what it was like 7 months ago. So I was looking forward to coming back.
What do you miss the most about Tsinghua? The food there, or your professors were? What
maybe the food, I think.
Just a combination of both the food and maybe a little bit the professors. But
a little bit, because you're here, he has to say that. Yeah, just a little bit. If you're here, Professor Zhu, he won't mention that at all.
Yeah.
You know, because now Moho talked really like a diplomat. So I was double checking the major, and that's why, because he was in international relations. So you can tell he's now talking like a diplomat, right? Like, you know, mention something of everything to make a balance of the perspectives. What about other people? So, Yadong, do you like your college? Because actually, I have visited your college about 1 year ago. Yeah, I think the summer of last year. Yeah, Schwarzman College. It was amazing. I was so impressed with the facilities and accommodations there. It was so good, right? The food, the dormitories, and the settings of the curriculum. Everything is so amazing. You must be enjoying so much at the college.
Yeah. Thanks, Joe, for enjoying the place.
I'm too old to apply for your program, sadly. So please study hard, right? Okay, for those older people who don't have the chance to apply for such a distinguished program. Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, sure. Actually, we have around 130 scholars from around 40 countries all over the world. So I think it's very important for us to come back together and do more communications face to face. But currently, we can just staying on Zoom. Sometimes we are studying inside the Zoom university. It's very funny, and because I think sometimes the Zoom call cannot exchange your mind and exchange your feelings very well. So I hope all my classmates can come back as soon as possible. It's very important for us to restart our passion and our new semester.
That's good to know. So Catherine, because now you're going to be graduated next year, right? So what is your plan like? Sorry, I mean Natalie. Not Natalie, not Catherine. I'll go back to you a little bit later. Yes, Natalie, you're going to graduate next year, right? So this is like a very critical period of your life. You need to make options, choices. It's something that is amazing, but something is also, fearful. It could be. So what is your plan like for this future, which you will be very, expecting very soon?
Yeah. Well, on one hand, I feel fortunate because there's still a whole year before we do graduate. So now's a fantastic period of time to test out different things. And I've really purposefully become engaged in several different organizations. I'm doing work for more than one at the moment, for about 3. So one of those is for a marketing, research, and digital company that's based in Shanghai. Another one of those is working locally for an NGO here and helping to organize international affairs type events. And another one is producing a podcast series, and that's working with Chinese and Australian partners. So I've been particular in kind of choosing that path rather than going full-time in any one route. And of course, the Global Communication Office, because that allows me to develop a portfolio of complementary work, to deepen relationships both in China and in Australia as well. And fingers crossed, hopefully that'll lead to some options when I do graduate.
Okay, great. So yes, fingers crossed, and the best of luck. So Catherine, what about you? I know it's only your first year for your master's degree, but you have to have a plan for the future. So so what we're gonna do after you graduate? Are you gonna join like a company, or are you gonna keep pursuing a PhD? I don't know. So do you have any plan for that?
A PhD would be a bit too much for now. Probably one of my main objective for now would be to join a newspaper or a television channel, and we will see with how the masters will be going on. Since I did my bachelor in business, journalism and communication is brand new for me. So I'm quite excited to see what it really looks like inside.
Yeah, that's really, really great. And now let's take a look at the big screen to see some of the questions and comments left by the followers on various social platforms. Okay, it seems my colleague has picked one for me. It's from Weibo. So, okay, the Chinese, the name of the followers is really cute. 帅的不行啦啦啦 is like this amazingly cute guy, or is like, can't be more handsome or what. So, and he or she is really curious that during the pandemic, our friends here, have you make any contributions to the local community based on your own knowledge and on your based on your major? So let's ask those our guests here. So yeah, have you ever made any contribution, any form of contribution to the local community, whether to the people around you, with the advantage of your major, or your knowledge or experience? Let's hear from them, or who have something like this can just share with us.
Yes. So at the start of the pandemic, I was assisting the Global Communication Office in communicating the situation in China, what was happening there. And that would be from assisting with translating documents from Chinese to English and kind of communicating through multimedia and text what the different stories were, how things were developing from there, when we're likely to come back, what was known at the time. Because China was definitely ahead of the world with having all of this inside knowledge at that stage. And that allowed me to apply the journalism major to it.
Yeah.
A classmate of mine from GBJ as well, he's currently in Spain, where he's from at the moment, and he was helping doing translation in the hospitals there. So again, communications focus.
Wow, that's really, really impressive. What about other people? Yeah, Dong, how about you? You just stay at home waiting, or you have done something positive? Yes.
Yeah, actually, I stayed at home, but we did a lot of efforts to make the people, especially Chinese people who stayed in Africa, to get aware of the situation of the pandemic. So we have a WeChat official account in Ethiopia and in Nigeria, and we publish the news from the the situation of the pandemic all over the world, about how many numbers are affected, and about a lot of information about this COVID-19 pandemic, and translate a lot of local news about the COVID-19 situation to them. So I think this type of information from the WeChat account helps them know much more about the situation in their countries.
Right. It is definitely helpful. So, yeah, what is your plan? Because I know you just said you want to take a master degree so that you can change your career path a little bit. But do you plan to go back to Africa, or do you still want to do something that is relevant with Africa, or you're going to make a complete change, I don't know, to a different location or to a different, career path?
I think Africa is a very exciting place for me. So definitely, I will come back to Africa. Maybe after graduation, maybe I will do another education program. But I think in the future, my career must be linked with my, based my experience in Africa, and I think I cannot leave this place.
You can't leave this place. But let's ask someone from Africa. So, Maho, how do you feel when Yadong just said, do you want to go back to Africa, or you prefer to stay in China, especially when you first graduate, in the first couple of years when you first graduate?
Well, for me, Africa will always be home. So I tend to go back to Africa after I graduate from Tsinghua, and hopefully just go there and be able to give back to the people and be able to extend knowledge and just like transmit what I learned from here. So the plan in the long run is for me to go back home and be able to be productive over there.
Right. So yes, he does talk like a diplomat, right, Professor? So what are the students, like your students? Because I graduate, like, just now when we are in the makeup room, and Professor Zhu said he recorded a video for, like, an alumni ceremony, and she told me she has graduated for, like, 20 to 30 years. I was so shocked. And then when I count down, when I count back, I was like, oh my goodness, actually, I attended university like about 15 years ago. It's really shocking to me. So yeah, but when I graduate or when you graduate, there weren't so many options, right? It's always finding a job or pursue a higher study. What about the kids now? Do they have more options compared with, our generation or, even the older generation?
Yeah. I think for the students now, they have more opportunities than us.
Or much more,
actually.
actually.
Much more. And also the society and also their parents can accept their choice. So because when I was graduated, my parents cannot accept if I want to go to maybe a remote area, they cannot accept. But now I think most students, especially in our university, we encourage all the students, maybe especially from those maybe now are poor or remote areas, just come back to their hometown or home country, because the object they come to Tsinghua is not to just stay in Beijing or stay in Shanghai or in these areas. I think maybe in their hometown or their home country are more actually to
they need them more.
Yeah, they need them more to come back to build the society to be more better, to be better. So I think when I graduated 25 years ago, one of my classmates came from Africa, and and so when she graduated, she returned back to Africa, and about 3 or 4 years ago, she and her husband and her children come back to China, and they now has been done a great job and in Africa, and also make some efforts to our major just in the energy area. So I think such as Moho or our international students, we hope them can be back to their hometown, home country. It will be a good bridge just in between China and their hometown, home country.
Exactly. And with this learning experience that they had in China, the learning experience, the living experience, their vision will be very different because they now have a much better understanding about the second largest economy in the world. So it's not only their understanding of China will be a little bit different. It's like their understanding of the world about international relations will be much more different because I think this is, the really amazing things of studying and living in another country. It makes me, or it makes our mind more open-minded.
So I think I think that is more important than the knowledge.
Exactly. And it is also, visions like this, like make this, when we suffer a pandemic, like major challenges like the pandemic, we don't always complain. That's why you see so many smiling faces now, right? Because now, I'm sure that they have suffered a lot. They're tough times for us, but they can always find a way out. I think that is really, really important. And also for our program, we have a tradition. It's like we always have people asking each other questions. So, whatever they want to know each other. Sometimes they're really, really sharp questions. So, ladies and gentlemen, get ready, okay? I want to give the first opportunity to Catherine because you mentioned you want to be a reporter or journalist, and also we're people who help people to become a journalist. So I'll give this first chance to you. You can ask anyone here, your peers or the professor here, or even me, anything that you want to know. Yes. Very, very valuable chance.
I would like to ask you, Miss Zhou.
Oh my,
Since you're one of my idols on CGTN, I've watched a lot of live videos, and I've often seen you being the host.
I'm so honored.
I would like I would like to ask you how is all the experience? So from your university till now, what led you to where you are today?
Wow. Okay, now we're going to start talking for like 2 hours to explain my experience. Wow, it's really a great question, but let me see. Or maybe we should just sign off because it's a really hard question as well. Well, for me, I think I didn't plan to be a journalist when I was in university. At that time, I wanted to be a simultaneous interpreter. So that's why, I studied really hard for the English literature, for the language itself, and for, the training, the skills it needs to become a translator. So it's more like a chance or like a coincidence because I took part in CCTV English-speaking contest in the last year of my university. So that is really something that have changed my career path, I think. So because of that computation, so I kind of get this chance of working at CCTV or CGTN, and the next thing is that I also got a chance to be a correspondent based in DC. So just naturally it evolves, but the thing that I think that remain unchanged is that I'll always study very hard, that I'll always make plans for the future. So even though the goal or the destination has been changed, but something remains unchanged. So I think it's like the combination of this changing elements and something that been the hard work and also the creative thinking has made me where I am. But you guys are much smarter than me, of course. So you'll be doing a much better job than me. That's for sure. So yeah, I don't know whether that's a good answer to you, but yeah, it is a very hard question for me to answer in such a short time. Is that a good one?
Yes, thank you so much. It's a real honor to be talking to you.
Oh, thank you. I'm so flattered, and I'm sweating at the same time because of the nervousness, Okay, but yeah, let's have other people. Okay, the attention not on me, please. Let's have other people. Whoever has a question, can just feel free to go ahead. Jiawen, do you have any question?
I have a question.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
Oh, no, go ahead.
No. Cassie, yes, please go ahead. Not to me,
Right,
to
okay,
other guests here.
Okay. Okay, so I have a question for Professor Zhu.
And now your turn to be nervous. Okay.
It's a personal question, but also I believe you'll be able to answer. So what was like the biggest challenge or some new opportunities for you during this pandemic period? For example, I'm interested in knowing more about your personal life, because for students, we are just like studying and researching. But what about for professors?
Yeah.
So that's my question for you.
Yeah. I think maybe the biggest challenge for me during the pandemic is to teach online. Yeah, I very clearly remembered in spring first semester, just before the first class, I prepared about 2 weeks ago I think the nervousness seems like to go to a blind date for just for the students. So it's really nervous because I haven't carried this mode of teaching before. So we just maybe bought some camera and test the network.
You need to do some makeup before record those classes.
And some of my colleagues just do this, and they just to moderate their room just like a broadcasting room. Yeah. So all of my colleagues has made many efforts to prepare for their online teaching. I think it's a really good challenge, but it also give birth to some new ideas and modes of online
For instance,
teaching.
can you give me an example? You said it's challenge, but to some degree it could be a good challenge. So what kind of things that have made you realize, this actually is good, this is something new that I never thought of before? Can you give us an example?
I think maybe a good example is that I can answer the questions of the students just by Zoom or by some other video conferencing system. As in the normal, in a traditional teaching mode, I have an open office hour every week. And in this time, the students can come to my office and ask my questions. But in the past several years, almost throughout all the semester, only several students, no more than 10 students can come to my office.
Really?
I'm so really...
that's shocking to me. I thought there would be lines of people asking questions during this office hour.
I'm really disappointed. I do not know whether...
Sorry, I have to pause you here. So students here, please remember, professors, they love you to show up, during the office hour. Okay, sorry, please go ahead. Okay.
So I understand that maybe all the students, they are still busy about the social life.
A little bit lazy also.
Maybe about the social life.
And they're smart. Maybe they don't have any questions.
About the social life, about the also maybe the exercises and something else. But in the in the part of Spring Festival semester, I carry out the answering questions on this video conferencing system by Zoom. I think the students come to the Zoom much more than in the offline
really?
situations. Yeah, every week I carry out, give them 1 hour or 2 hours. I made an appointment with them and send them the link, the Zoom ID to them. And every time about 30 to 40 students.
That's a lot.
Yeah, come to the Zoom. But,
they just show up to see you, or they really have questions?
Although the students answer questions, only 5 or 4 maybe really have questions, but other questions all in the Zoom and keep listening or something else. When the Zoom finished, I asked them, why do you come to Zoom but not ask questions? They just said, I want to hear something about someone else. What questions they will?
Wow. They're very active.
Yeah. So I think, but in this case, it cannot be realized offline, because in offline, if one student asks me questions, maybe only 5 or 6 students at most can
hear that
and
can get the feedback.
Yeah. But in Zoom, I think everyone is in the first line of the classroom. So they can hear and can see the screen very clearly. I think so. It's a very, very shocking style or mode. I think in the future I will keep this style.
Even after the pandemic, even when you teach them in person in the classroom, you can still conducting this online Q&A session, or the online office hour, because now this has give you an idea. Because this might work better, right? Because with the higher rate of participation, the active involvement of the students, right? So this is maybe one of the good things that we get from the pandemic.
Yes. So I think the effect of the pandemic, not all the effects are negative. Some are positive, and we can keep this positive style or modes to the time after the pandemic.
Well, finally, Professor, before we wrap up, we have students here. Some are on campus, some are still joining us remotely. Do you have anything to say to them, given the semester have just started, given that now we're gradually going back, to the normal lives, hopefully? So do you have anything to say or to encourage those students?
I think no matter what, no matter you have returned to the campus or now you are out of the campus, I think keep close connection with your professors, with your classmates. I think maybe if you have any problems, you can ask for help from your professors, and I think we can involve you as much as possible to be make you feel that you are really in the campus. And we sincerely hope you can come to the campus as soon as possible.
That's
hope
really
to see
sweet.
you in the campus.
Hope to see you. So how about the kids? Do you have anything to say to the professor before we officially wrap up? Now they're just so touched.
Thank you so much. We look forward to grabbing some food with you at Qingfen Yuan, or one of the fantastic cafeterias.
Yeah, that's great. And today is September the 12th, but we can still say happy belated Teachers Day to you, right?
Yeah,
so Professor Zhu.
Thank
you. So thank you so much, everyone. With that, we're going to wrap up today's discussion, because the pandemic was a tough time for students of all levels, kindergartens, elementary school students. I guess it might be even tougher for older students, for those in universities and college, given the challenges and the pressure they face with them, right? For instance, they have to make critical life choices. They have to pursue the academic studies, and some of them also need to find a job. So it is hard, but I think I'm really glad to hear the voices of those young students, brilliant and promising. They didn't just complain, or they didn't even complain. There are tough times, but they always be able to find a solution with the help of the professors, the universities, the governments, and also, of course, themselves. So it is really, really good to hear that. So hopefully, let's just hope that, they can stay healthy and stay safe, and of course, stay brilliant. So thank you again for all of you, for your time, for your participation, and big thank you to our followers for your submission. We have more to come the week after next one. So thank you, and bye for now. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you so much,
Hope to see you soon.